Okay. For the people doing the pinball table, you may have watched the video I put on YouTube of me working out how I think the design would work. You've got little bits and pieces, and you've started putting it together, but because we've got multiple projects, I haven't built this one yet. So I had a good look at it. I've had a little plan around the existing drawings and designs. Now, my plan was to sort of spend the time to figure out a few dimensions and sizes and the best way to draw things, draw it up, uh, then do it again, record it a second time, and it would be clearer and cleaner. But it is a difficult project to visualize because there's a lot of angles and a lot of things going on, moving parts. Now, you can have a go. That's not a problem. But at your level, just starting out with 3D design and CAD, I really think you may get very frustrated, and frustration leads to being a bit disheartened and put off from doing it. So I think you just need a little bit longer before you get there. However, that doesn't stop us having a little bit of a talk about the design and you having your design input. I'm just going to give you mine, okay, where I'm sitting, and I'm looking at it from what you've already done to what you need to do and how it will work. Okay, so I'm thinking about the dimensions and how it will work and materials we've got and how I would put it together as best I can. Okay, now let's go over it. Here's my sort of final design. Got our flippers, are the same as what you've already cut. Those little pieces on the side that you've already cut this one. This one may need some modification. And then I've figured out a way for me to shoot the ball up into the game. So let's go through it a little bit. I'll try to go over everything I've learnt and what I've come up with. Okay. Most of you have a frame like this. Okay. Uh, the holes, I'm assuming you've put the holes in there. So go through it. These are the dimensions you have. This piece here is the offcut for up the top. I'll flip that over, flip along green, flip along blue. Okay, so this is that piece there, the offcut. Okay, so that is the piece I cut off the top, and you cut off. You brought it to the teacher put on the bandsaw, probably put on the bandsaw, and cut to the waist side, this side, and gave you that second piece. Now, once you desanded that up, marked it all out, my idea would be to take that, if you haven't already, and to glue and tack it on to the inside. Make sure there's a left and a right. I have gone up a little bit off the bottom. So if you want to know how far, I'll measure it. I brought it up 8 millimeters. Now, that won't be the overall because yours, they could all end up different sizes. So if I come here, you should be about 27 from the top edge. The reason is because I've got 8 mil plywood and then the rest of my pieces are 19 mil, and I've done it so they're all flush at the top, you'll see. So depending on your thickness of plywood will change this variable. Okay, which would obviously this will change depending on where you've desanded to and that type of thing. Okay, so you pretty much need to think about this edge here going to that edge here. I wanted to leave some room at the bottom, and you'll see why. Mechanisms, okay, for things I have underneath. I've also left from the side, from the front edge, go along from here. Try to get it on. In there, but 70 millimeters, okay? And I'll explain why I've done that. So let's have a look. There's my finished model. We were just looking at the frame. There's a couple of little things here. Okay. The holes. I would imagine you would need to cut the holes or bore the holes before assembly. If you do it after, it's going to be hard. Okay. Hard to line everything up. Now, I've also got these little sort of cuts in the top edge going perpendicular from the top down. Now let's go through why. The clippers I drew are the same size as what you have made. So when I push my plunger, whatever you want to call it, in, I've got this little stop. These are I've drawn these as 3 separate pieces. I would think that would be a bit of plywood. This could be 2 bits of plywood, or perhaps 3D printed. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to plunge it in. Okay, so I'm going to press it in. Take it from this edge here. And so it pushes in like that. It'll hit that there. Now that's why during the previous weeks, I talked to you about the grain direction. Because as that comes in, although it's going to stop here, there is a chance if your grain is running this way that it will just snap. Okay, and that will be kind of challenging for you. So most people I told about grain direction, the grain should be running lengthways, were yes, that makes sense. Okay, there was 1 or 2 people that went, nah, not an issue. Honestly, I think it will be an issue. Before you glue it on, before you attach it, and it is an issue, give it a thought. That plunger will push in along here, which will push against this edge. So I've got this all grouped together. I'm going to come up here. And that'll bring it out to there, which is 60 degrees, which works out quite well. So I've got a little chamfer taper on the end of the dowel to push a bit evenly. It could be smooth. Okay. Do that with the disc sander or just hand sandpaper. So it pushes in, pushes this piece along that edge at 60 degrees. Okay. If I go underneath, you'll see my mechanism. Now, I'll rotate this back to where it was. See down the bottom, 60 degrees. Got these plates. Cut them out of plywood or acrylic, maybe even 3D print. And they're glued. Well, I say glued, but I think nailed through the side. If we can do it, may be better. But we'll work that out. At the moment, let's say they're glued. There's a secondary piece of dowel in here and 2 flat pieces of timber. Obviously, these need to be fairly accurately glued and tacked in place on the bottom of the plywood. I imagine a rubber band around these 2, which will bring that flipper back into the resting place. On the left-hand side, you have this end piece here where the ball will roll down into this chamber here. Now, that will prevent that one going back, and to some degree, so would this, but I've given it a bit of clearance here, 1 millimeter clearance, okay? The other side doesn't have that benefit. If The rubber band on my original design, if you watch it, is up here and attached to the side to pull it back in. That makes no sense on the right hand side because that will come back to this. Now, these are things you may want to redesign. That is not a problem. That would come back to that way. Okay, and hit on this edge here, which may not be a big problem and may be a simpler solution than those. But if we're accurate, if we measure in and we've drawn it up on CAD, we should know where they go. They obviously can't be up here because when that end comes in, they need clearance. Okay. So they can't be up here. They have to be below, I would say, that center there. And also, when I'm turning that, you can see why. Because he's on an angle, I need to get it on. See why I need to have that cleat cut short. Okay, that's 70 mil that we spoke about. Okay, so we've got our pins working. There's no glue under the face of it, obviously, and it should be done very clean. Perhaps even, no, it should be, I would say, glued there, tight there, a bit loose on the base. Okay. Now, my plunger or my shooting thingy, whatever, I've done like this. Okay, simple bit of 12 mil material, roughly about 12 by 12. A little bit of plywood here, some trenches cut in. That piece will hold it down flat, I hope. It may need to be wider. Actually, when I think about it, may need to be wider, but we'll see if it works. A rubber band around here. Got two dowels there lined up and a little cut there, so tied around there or an O-ring or something like that. Then I pull this dowel back. Go from move, pull it back like that. Pull it back. Go along this edge. Well, it can't go any further, so it'll hit roughly there, and the rubber band will be stretching down around there. And then it will shoot back this way. And it shouldn't go much past there because of the rubber band or the O-ring, whatever. Okay. The ball will then go around here and into your game, which you'll design. You should have maybe some spinning bits and pieces, maybe a little bell. Okay. So that gets rid of that problem where if the plunger was here, it'd be hitting that little toggle stick thingy. And here we go. I'll take that one back out. Red. So the rubber band underneath should pull them back into this position. That pin should push them out when we need to flip the ball back into the game. This little slider should shoot the ball into the game. Okay, and then when you get out, they come down here, 3 balls, whatever you're going to have on your game. This was the assembly flipped upside down so you can see it. And there it is without the frame, if that helps you look at it. And here is the base. This is how I would have preferred to make the assembly and then drop it in and then put these in obviously after and attach this secondary. But most of you have put the frame together because that's what the instructions said. You will have trouble getting these pieces in because they need to be planed or sanded to an angle, the angle of the unit here. Okay, so over here there's an angle, and you'll need to do that. A lot of you are rushing to get all the pieces glued in, everything glued and attached, and I think that will be a fiddly bit to do. But it's done now. You'll have to work on a solution. Other than that, I think we're pretty right for the design. I'm just going to move this over here. What I'll do is I'll put that there and then I'll move it away. Equal amounts. So I've got those holes. Let's have a look where they are. Might have to go into the edit mode. What I'll do is I will turn on hidden geometry. Have a look, as you remember that our holes aren't really whole. So let's do that again. I'm going to put a tape measure from here and measure out to put a line in here. Okay. There's the middle point. If I can come over. Middle point here. Center. Okay, that'll give us a good idea. So from here, so oh, that's no good. There, there. So we got 43 mil. By 26 millimeters, okay. I'm going to delete that, delete that. These should both be the same. We've got 43 in and 26 across from each end. See that there. This piece here, the things I haven't spoke about, that piece there is around 120 mil long, bit of plywood cut to 19 mil wide. And then I took this piece here and cut it down. Now, obviously, the same way you did here, you just cut down with a tenon saw that way, and it should work out fine. Marking out is going to be critical on this job. Okay. Pretty much everything you need to know in there. Take this 3D model and perhaps start planning out how you're going to do the inside. See how you go. And then I want you to put in your folio how some of the pieces work. If you want to edit anything, you understand that everything I've made is either is a component. Some pieces have been grouped together. So to ungroup it, if you wanted to pull this off and have a look at, you got to right click, explode, and you can see now it's 3 components glued together. And then you could move it out and have a look. Okay. And take some screenshots. Let's put in the folio. And yeah, that's what I came up with. Maybe you can improve on this. Maybe you've got a good idea for here. Maybe you want to bring the backboard up. Okay. I'm happy for you to have a go. It was a complex model to do. I'll put it on the 3D warehouse. I'll put a link to it in the description. Okay. Smash that like button. Okay. Bye.